In the United States, after the police finish their work at a crime scene, it is usually the responsibility of the survivors or the property owners to clean up what's left behind. That process can cost hundreds, even thousands of dollars, an expense most families can't afford. When Rita Hester's best friend and siblings returned to her modest Boston area apartment after her murder, they were left to do that heartbreaking work themselves. They found fingerprint dust still clinging to her walls. They observed a single bloody footprint, not Rita's, in the room where she was found. The locks still intact. Her phone, her only possible lifeline for help, had been ripped from the wall. It is likely her attacker was someone she knew. Unable to afford the cost of sanitizing the scene, Rita's loved ones spent the night cleaning the place where she had died. They scrubbed the floors, washed the walls, soaking up Rita's blood and the remnants of the investigation. And as they worked, her mother, Kathleen Hester, sat alone in a nearby room, not far from where her daughter was killed, replaying the events that must have led to Rita's violent end. Before Rita became Rita, she was known to her family simply as Hester. She was born in Hartford, Connecticut, into a large and loving family. As she grew into herself, she found connection and belonging in Boston's underground Black trans community. Most of the time, Rita was strong, self-assured, and full of dreams for her future. 2 days before her 35th birthday, Boston police called Kathleen to tell her coldly over the phone that her son had been murdered. No officer ever came to her door. No one asked questions that might have helped solve the case. To the Boston police, Rita was just another Black trans victim of violence. Someone they viewed as living on the edges of society, someone not worth their time. Rita's murder in 1998 was never solved, but her life and the outrage that followed her death sparked something that could not be silenced. Out of that grief, her community began what would become the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we gather in the light of candles and the weight of memory. We come together to remember those whose lives were taken by hate, by neglect, by the system that failed to see their worth. We speak their names into the quiet because silence has taken too much from us already. The Transgender Day of Remembrance is not only a day to mourn, it's a day to tell the truth. The truth that our community has endured generations of violence, that our people have been erased from history, denied safety, denied care, and too often denied the right to simply exist. But we are still here, and our being here tonight together is an act of defiance and love. Each name we hold in our hearts, like Rita's, carried a whole universe inside them. They laughed, they dreamed, they loved deeply. Their lives were not defined by the way they ended, but by the courage it took to live authentically in a world that demanded their silence. We honor them by refusing that silence. We honor them by continuing to speak truth to power, by protecting one another, by creating safety and belonging that this world still withholds. Here in Niagara and across this country, we've seen what happens when institutions fail to protect trans people, when our humanity is treated as a debate instead of a fact. And yet, even in that darkness, there is light. The light of community, the light of resilience, the light of trans people who continue to rise, to organize, to love, to create, and to demand better. Because trans existence is resistance, not just to violence, but to despair. Every day, we choose to live, to tell our stories, to care for one another. That is a radical act of hope. Hope for us isn't naive. It is hard-won. It is carved out of pain and persistence. It is built on the promise that no one will be forgotten and no one will be left behind. As we remember those we've lost, let us also remember those who are still here. The elders who carried us through, the youth who are still finding their voices, the friends who hold us when the world feels unkind. Let us remember that we belong to one another. And as we leave this space tonight, let remembrance become a call to action, to speak up when others are silent, to protect those who are most vulnerable, to build a world where trans people don't just survive, we thrive. Because remembrance without action is only memory, but remembrance with love, with courage, and with community, that is how we change the world. Until that world exists where every trans person lives free, safe, and unafraid, we will keep saying their names, and we will continue to keep fighting for the living.